Hello, welcome to Phantom Homicide, the case of Grace Millane and the missed warning signs. We are diving deep today into a really harrowing case. It,
Yeah,
it shook New Zealand, didn't it? And it exposed some terrifying, persistent flaws in how we sometimes handle violence against women.
absolutely. We're
Yeah.
talking about the murder of Grace Millane, who was a young British backpacker, just 21.
Yeah, in late 2018. And she was, supposed to be having the adventure of a lifetime.
That's right. And the sources we're digging into today, they don't just show the details of the murder itself. They point towards something, well, much bigger, a kind of systemic failure, you could say.
A failure that it seems allowed a very dangerous person to operate freely before this tragedy happened.
Exactly. And what's crucial here, what really elevates this beyond just one awful event, is that it became this huge legal and social, well, a teaching moment, really.
Right.
A terrifying look at a pattern, a dark pattern. And the choices the killer made immediately after her death are just chilling. But maybe the most disturbing part, the part we really need to focus on, are those echoes of past violence. The warnings that were documented, but then, well, tragically ignored by the authorities before Grace was killed.
Howard. Yeah.
So, if you want to understand the gravity, the real weight of these systemic failures when it comes to documented threats against women,
Mm.
this case is essential. It really lays it bare.
It does. And when you piece it all together, the narrative just, it flips, doesn't it? From this bright hope, this young woman exploring the world, to absolute horror, and then honestly to this infuriating feeling when you see the missed chances.
That's it.
So our mission here, what we're trying to do is reconstruct that whole story for you, from Grace's journey, her hopes, what she was looking for,
Right.
all the way through to the really controversial rough sex defense that her killer used in court, and crucially, those missed opportunities. The fact that another victim strongly believes, this could have been prevented.
Yeah. We need to understand not just what happened, but why. Why didn't the system step in sooner?
Okay, so let's start with Grace herself. We need to, remember the person at the heart of this. Grace Millane. She was, by all accounts, vibrant, intelligent.
Yeah, 21 years old, just graduated, hadn't she? University of Lincoln?
That's right, advertising and marketing degree. And this wasn't just a holiday, it was a big deal. A year-long backpacking trip she'd planned out.
And she wasn't inexperienced either. That's important. She'd already done, what, 6 weeks traveling solo in South America?
Yeah, successfully. So she was building confidence, seeing the world. She arrived in New Zealand November 20th, 2018.
And the choice of New Zealand. It's significant, isn't it? Her father had traveled there, apparently.
Right.
And crucially, it has this image, this global reputation. It's marketed heavily as, one of the safest places you can go,
Right.
especially for solo female travelers.
Exactly. That idea of safety, that promise, it just makes what happened feel even more, well, sickeningly ironic.
Absolutely. The contrast is stark.
So things moved incredibly fast once she got to Auckland. She arrived there on November 30th, and then the very next day, December 1st.
Which was the day before her 22nd birthday.
Right. Just before her birthday, she matched with Jesse Kempson on Tinder. They met up in the CBD, Auckland's Central Business District.
And we know a lot about those final hours, mainly because of CCTV footage. It was key evidence later on.
Yeah, it paints a picture. They spent several hours together going to different bars. Andy's Burgers and Bar, the Bleastone Room.
Mexican Cafe, I think, was another one. Just drinking cocktails. Looking, from the outside, totally normal, like any first date.
Very public places, too. Busy area.
But that sense of normalcy, it ends abruptly at 9:41 p.m.
That's the timestamp on the last CCTV footage of Grace.
Entering the City Life Hotel on Queen Street.
It was Kempson.
And the awful truth, the evidence showed, she never left that hotel room alive.
Her family knew something was wrong almost immediately. That speaks volumes about how close they were, doesn't it?
It really does. When she didn't reply to birthday messages on December 2nd, that wasn't just her being busy. It was completely out of character.
Totally. So her parents, David and Gillian, they knew. They felt it. They reported her missing 3 days later.
The police response, initially at least, was cautious, standard procedure for a missing person. They even said publicly there was no evidence of foul play at first.
But that didn't last long.
No, not at all. They gathered evidence incredibly quickly that pointed to the worst. They soon concluded she was no longer alive.
And the whole investigation shifted gears, didn't it? Became a homicide case almost instantly.
Right. And that rapid shift led them straight to Kempson. He was 26 at the time.
They brought him in on December 8th, charged him with murder.
And the search for Grace ended the very next day, December 9th, just heartbreakingly.
Finding her body.
Yeah, in a shallow grave, barely hidden, really. Off Scenic Drive in the Wataka Ranges, it's this beautiful kind of remote park area about 19 kilometers west of the city center.
A place meant for beauty becoming.
Yeah.
Just a shockingly cold disposal.
It's chilling.
And what we learned about what happened immediately after her death, it's crucial because it just demolishes the story Kempson's lawyers tried to sell later. This idea it was some kind of panic or an accident.
Absolutely obliterates it. The facts that came out were methodical, calculated.
The postmortem was clear, wasn't it?
Very clear. Strangulation, sustained pressure. They estimated it took between 5 and 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes? That's a long time.
It's an incredibly long time. Forensics found bruises consistent with restraint, signs of asphyxiation. This wasn't a brief accidental thing. It was prolonged, deliberate violence. She would have struggled. He had time, ample time, to stop.
And his actions after she died, the digital footprint is just horrifying, shows zero remorse.
It's beyond horrifying. It's depraved. The evidence showed he sexualized her death, searching for pornography online.
Right after killing her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even pausing at some point to take intimate lewd photos of her body.
It's sick.
That behavior, taking photos, searching porn, it indicates a profound psychological detachment. It's not panic. It's cold. It's predatory. And then he started cleaning methodically.
A full cleanup of the hotel room.
Thoroughly. Then he went out shopping, bought items specifically for disposal, a second suitcase.
To put her body in.
Exactly. Cleaning products, a shovel. This is someone executing a plan step by step, not someone freaking out.
And the compartmentalization, it's hard to wrap your head around. The very next day, December 2nd, her birthday.
While her body is still in that hotel room,
He goes on another Tinder date with a different woman.
just moves on. Plans the disposal while, having drinks with someone else he just met online. Another potential victim.
That level of disconnect is just...
Shows an utter lack of humanity. To be able to do that, to maintain that facade while concealing such a horrific act just meters away. It reveals someone capable of extreme manipulation, extreme cruelty.
And then he carried out the disposal plan, rented a car.
Which they later tracked heading towards Tafu.
Yeah. Used it to drive her body out to the Wataka Ranges, buried her just off the road, basically. 10 meters from a scenic drive.
The ease, the coolness. It completely undermined everything his defense team tried to argue later about panic or mistake.
So what about Kempson himself? His background, did anything point to this?
Well, his history. Grew up near Wellington. Parents split when he was about 9, raised mostly by his dad and grandfather. His official record before this was, well, relatively minor stuff.
Like what?
Drunk driving, some disorderly behavior charges. Nothing that screamed homicidal sexual predator.
So no major red flags on paper?
Not on his official record, no. But character witnesses, especially his own family, painted a much, much darker picture.
His stepbrother, right. He spoke to the media.
Yes, and he didn't hold back. Called Kempson a pathological liar that lies over pointless things. Said he'd keep lying until he had absolutely no way out.
Wow.
And crucially, he commented on Kempson's tears during the police interview. Said he believed they were more tears for himself because he got caught, not remorse for Grace.
Tears for himself.
Yeah, and that stepbrother actually apologized publicly to the Millane family. Said the tragedy happened because Kempson doesn't have any shred of a decent human being inside him.
Coming from family, that's incredibly powerful. And it gives you insight into that manipulative character everyone described.
It really does. It frames everything else.
Okay, this is where the story takes another awful turn. It moves from just this horrific crime to something, well, infuriating, a potential systemic failure.
Yes. This is the part that adds another layer of tragedy, the revelation that came out later in a 2022 documentary, a previous victim of Kempson's.
Another woman she attacked.
Yes, and she stated, flat out, that Grace Millane's death could have been prevented.
Oh my God, prevented.
Her account details an encounter back in 2016, so 2 full years before Grace. Again, met him on Tinder.
Same pattern.
Exactly. She described herself back then as, young, naive, and a hopeless romantic. Saw him initially as charming, confident, the same act he put on for Grace.
But it didn't last.
No. She said his behavior turned very violent, very quickly. And it escalated to him threatening to kill her. with a knife.
Threatened to kill her with a knife. That's not just assault, that's a direct homicide threat. A massive red flag.
A huge red flag.
Yeah.
Indicating seriously dangerous, escalating behavior. And here's the critical part, the system failure bit.
She went to the police?
She did. Gave them a detailed statement, everything they needed, she thought. But the authorities, they decided it was too hard to prosecute.
Too hard? Why?
The old he said, she said problem. They apparently acknowledged it was a very violent situation, but they wouldn't press criminal charges. Said they lacked sufficient evidence.
So her word wasn't enough, even with a threat to kill.
Apparently not enough to meet the threshold under the Solicitor General's guidelines for prosecution, as they put it. Basically, they felt they couldn't guarantee a conviction in court without more objective proof.
Like medical reports or witnesses or maybe an admission from him, which they didn't have.
Exactly. So despite the severity, they deemed it too risky to prosecute criminally. And a known violent individual walked free.
What happened instead? Did they do anything?
They got civil orders in 2017, a protection order, a property order.
Which are basically just pieces of paper, right? They don't physically stop someone.
Precisely. They offer legal recourse if he breaches them, but they didn't remove him from the community. They didn't stop him from getting back on Tinder. No criminal record resulted from that incident.
That must have been devastating for her.
Immense trauma. And then imagine 18 months later, she sees the news, sees Kempson charged with murdering Grace Millane.
She said her whole world came crashing down.
You can only imagine, realizing she'd witnessed his trajectory, knowing she reported it and thinking if they had acted then, if he'd been charged, maybe imprisoned, Grace might still be alive.
That weight. Unimaginable.
And the truly infuriating part. Only after Grace's murder did the police properly revisit that woman's 2016 case.
After the fact.
Yes. The investigation following Grace's death confirmed the pattern. It led to Kempson finally being held criminally accountable for what he did to her and to another woman as well.
So he was convicted for those earlier attacks eventually.
Yes, December 2020. Separate trials from the Millane case. 9 charges in total: rape, sexual violation, threatening to kill, assault. Across 2 victims.
Delayed justice. But it proved, didn't it, what the system missed earlier? That he was a repeat dangerous offender.
Absolutely. The information was there, the report was made,
Yeah.
but the system, for whatever reason, maybe resources, maybe perceived evidential difficulty, didn't meet the challenge back in 2016. And Grace paid the price.
Okay, let's move to the trial itself. November 2019, the defense strategy. It became infamous almost overnight.
Yeah, the rough sex defense. It's a tactic we've seen elsewhere, sadly.
Wait, sometimes called the 50 Shades defense.
That's the cynical term for it, yes.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's an attempt to get the charge knocked down from murder to manslaughter. Less intent, less time.
So the argument from his lawyer, Ian Brookie, was that Grace's death wasn't murder. It was, what, a sex game gone wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A consensual sexual misadventure involving choking. They try to argue she had an interest in BDSM or masochism.
Putting the victim on trial, essentially.
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
And they claimed Kempson just panicked afterwards, which explained the cleanup and the lies.
Yeah.
They tried to portray him as insecure, acrid, lying about money, trying to make him seem less like a killer and more like a scared guy who messed up.
How did they try to back that up medically against the prosecution's evidence of strangulation?
They brought in their own pathologist, Fintan Garavan.
Yeah.
He argued the injuries could be consistent with consensual choking, pointing to what he called a lack of defensive wounds, though the Crown's experts strongly disagreed with that interpretation.
Right.
He also made a point about her blood alcohol level. It was 106 milligrams per 100 milliliters.
Which is over the driving limit there?
More than double, yeah. The limit's 50 milligrams. So the defense used that to suggest maybe she was too impaired to signal distress properly or to resist effectively. Again, subtly shifting blame onto her.
But the prosecution, led by Brian Dickey, they came back hard against this narrative.
They did. Systematically dismantled it. They focused on 2 main things: the medical facts and the pattern of his behavior.
Medically, the time factor was key, wasn't it?
Absolutely crucial. 5 to 10 minutes of sustained pressure on the neck that is not consistent with some momentary accidental choking during consensual sex. That's a deliberate, prolonged act, maintained until death.
And the pattern, they brought in other women.
Yes. 3 other women he'd met on Tinder. Their testimony was incredibly powerful. They all said Kempson liked rough, masochistic sex, specifically involving choking.
Wow.
And one woman's testimony was particularly chilling. She described an incident where he choked her non-consensually. She actually lost consciousness. And when she came to, she said he seemed aroused by it.
That directly contradicts the idea it was consensual with Grace. It shows his pattern, his dangerous preference.
Exactly. It established this wasn't a one-off or something Grace initiated. This was his thing. Dangerous, non-negotiable dominance.
And the prosecution used his actions afterwards, too, the cover-up.
Massively. They called it his labyrinth of storytelling and lies. The internet searches how to dispose of a body, where the Whitaker ranges were, watching porn while her body was in the room. The meticulous cleanup and disposal.
All demonstrating conscious guilt, not panic.
Precisely.
Yes.
Sophisticated planning to evade justice from the moment he knew she was dead. Calculation, not confusion.
How did the jury take all this?
They clearly found the prosecution's case compelling. The pattern evidence, the calculated cleanup, it resonated. On November 22, 2019, after deliberating for only about 5 hours.
That's fast for a murder trial.
Very fast. They came back with a unanimous guilty verdict for murder. Reports said some jurors were actually weeping as the verdict was read. You can imagine the emotional toll of hearing all that evidence.
So sentencing. Murder means life in New Zealand, right?
Mandatory life sentence. He was formally sentenced February 21st, 2020. Life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period set at 17 years.
And the judge had some strong words.
Just as Simon Moore did. He directly addressed the rough sex defense. He said even if you entertain that idea for a second, which he clearly didn't fully buy, it doesn't excuse the horrific callousness of the disposal, the complete lack of dignity shown to Grace's body, and Kempson's ongoing total lack of remorse.
Did Kempson try to appeal?
Oh, yes. He went all the way. Appealed the conviction, appealed the sentence. The Court of Appeal shut him down in December 2020.
And then?
He tried one last time, took it to the Supreme Court. They dismissed his application in June 2021. That was it. All legal avenues exhausted.
And the cost of all that, I remember reading about it.
Yeah, that caused a lot of public anger. Taxpayers ended up footing the bill for his legal aid. Over $400,000. People were understandably outraged, funding the defense and appeals of someone who'd not only killed Grace, but had put her character on trial.
The impact of this case just spread so wide, didn't it? Beyond the courtroom, into legal debates, media ethics.
Absolutely. One major issue right away was name suppression.
Right. His name wasn't public during the trial in New Zealand.
Correct. New Zealand law is very strict about that, trying to guarantee a fair trial, prevent jury prejudice. In a relatively small country, high-profile names get known fast.
But the rest of the world didn't follow that rule.
No. International media, especially UK outlets, they weren't bound by the NZ court order. They published his name almost immediately.
Which must have infuriated the NZ justice system.
It did, big time. Seen as undermining the entire process. Even Google got tangled up in it when his name popped up in a trending topics email sent to subscribers in New Zealand.
Accidentally breaking suppression.
Exactly. The Justice Minister, the Bar Association, they were highly critical, and they made an example of someone locally, an Auckland businessman, Leo Malloy, got fined and community service for breaching the order domestically.
Just shows how seriously they take it. When was his name finally released officially?
Only after the Supreme Court appeal failed, in December 2020. That's when it became fully public within New Zealand legally.
The public reaction in New Zealand, it felt different. Deeper than other cases somehow.
It really was unprecedented.
Yeah.
A huge outpouring of grief, but also a sense of national shame, almost.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's apology was incredibly powerful.
It was very emotional, tearful. On December 10th, 2018, addressing the Millane family directly, saying, "Your daughter should have been safe here, and she wasn't." That line resonated hugely.
There were vigils everywhere, landmarks lit up.
Yes, candlelight vigils across the country. The Sky Tower, the Harbor Bridge, lit up with a white ribbon, the symbol against violence towards women. But even amidst that grief, there was criticism of how the case was covered.
The missing white woman syndrome debate.
Exactly. Some journalists pointed out the intense focus might be disproportionate compared to other victims, and also that scrutiny of Grace's own choices using Tinder, having drinks, started creeping in. Victim blaming, essentially.
Which ties directly back to the rough sex defense and its legacy.
Precisely. That defense strategy was condemned worldwide. Grotesque victim blaming, people called it, because it lets the killer use the victim's silence, twist their supposed preferences into an excuse for violence.
And that led to actual legal changes, didn't it? Particularly in the UK.
Yes, a significant change. Activist groups like We Can't Consent to This really pushed hard. The UK government listened and acted.
What did they do?
They passed the Domestic Abuse Act in 2021. It includes specific clauses that essentially make it impossible now to use the rough sex gone wrong argument as a defense if someone dies or is seriously injured from violence during a sexual encounter. You can't claim it was accidental if you admit the violence happened.
That's huge. Closing that loophole Kempson tried to exploit.
It's a profound legal shift. New Zealand didn't pass an identical law immediately, but the case forced a massive discussion there about consent laws, about how judges should handle evidence of a victim's sexual history, making sure it can't be used to smear the dead.
And Grace's legacy lives on through advocacy, too, her family.
Incredible strength. Her mother, Gillian, and her cousin, Hannah O'Callaghan, founded the Love Grace charity.
What does it do?
They collect handbags filled with essential toiletries and donate them to victims of domestic violence. A really practical, compassionate act of support.
That's wonderful. They got honors for that work, didn't they?
They did. Appointed OBEs in the 2024 New Year honors. A fitting recognition.
But the personal cost. Her father, David Millane, he gave such a powerful statement at the sentencing.
He showed immense dignity. But tragically, he passed away from cancer in November 2020, less than 2 years after Grace's murder. The stress, the grief, it must have taken an unimaginable toll.
Just heartbreaking. And the case continues to be discussed. Documentaries made.
Yes, books, films like Swipe, Match, Murder, and The Lie. It ensures that dialogue about safety, about accountability, about victim blaming, it keeps going, which is vital. So when you boil it all down, the central tragedy of Grace Millane is obviously the loss of her life. But it's compounded by this crucial, stark lesson that the responsibility for safety, it lies squarely with perpetrators, not victims. And the justice system, the authorities, they have to be vigilant about documented patterns of abuse. They just have to.
Especially when there are clear warning signs, like the report from the 2016 victim.
Exactly. When those signs are ignored, maybe because it seems too hard to prosecute or the evidence threshold feels too high, the consequences aren't just potential. They can be lethal. Predictably lethal sometimes.
Inaction has a cost, a terrible cost.
We learned that the hard way here.
Yeah. Grace's case really held up a mirror, didn't it? Forced this global look at how we deal with defenses that blame victims for the violence inflicted on them.
It really did.
And the changes made in her name, like that UK law, they're significant wins, but they came from such immense loss. It just reinforces that the conversation has to continue about ensuring women have the right to be safe.
The right to travel, the right to date.
The right to just live their lives without fear. That needs constant challenge, protection, enforcement.
Wow.
We can't afford any more missed warning signs.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we hope you liked our today's discussion. For more such discussions, subscribe to our channel, Phantom Homicide.